Okay, we are recording. All right. So, as you guys heard me say, this is going to be all on pretty much Instagram and from leadership that we learned. So, let me do present. Oh, wait, I didn't share the screen yet. Okay, here we go. Why is it so small? Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I don't like it that it's so large and that I can't see my. You know what? All right. Does it look okay, you guys? Can you see it fine?
Looks good.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna whiz past this part, but I just want to like touch on a few things. So first of all, as you guys know, we are in the last month and a half. So I just wanted to reiterate this part. Pick a program and go all in. Figure out which one you're going to start or which whenever you're doing, and make sure to take that progress photo. Make sure that you're sharing it and you let others know what you're doing so you can finish this month strong. And also as we get into December, and nutrition focus group, we have that boot camp. Thanks to Tess, because Tess is a brand new coach. She just actually hit Success Starter, and which means that she's hit Success Club 3 months in a row. And she made this guide, you guys. And I just want to say thank you, Tess, because one, it's amazing. And I know that you're not done with it, but you've did a lot. You put a lot of time and effort into it, and you shared it with our team. So thank you, thank you. So I am going to be doing a nutrition exclusive group along with the fitness group. And it really depends on how many I get. But if you guys feel like it's slow moving right now, I always say if that's the case, then figure out what your audience needs. Maybe it's they want the nutrition guidance and the nutrition help along with the fitness boot camp. So that's my game plan. Just as a reminder, we're going to be gearing up for the launch of 9-week Control Freak. As you know, that's coming out by Autumn Calabrese. And I just wanted to share when the VIP access will be available in the coach exclusive window. So that's December 7th through the 20th. We'll be ramping up, training, I'm sure by Diesel Nation on it soon. And then we'll have a launch plan and all that. So sit tight. Don't worry. We'll get that all to you guys. And then just think, how are you going to 10 times it between now and January? So I'm actually reading that or listening to it on Audible, the 10 timesing it. What is it called? 10 times rule. And then there's just a few things that I took from Moira's call when Christina had her on, because it was like, yes, how are we going to level it up? And is that by making sure that you're getting on all the power hours every single week? Is that making sure that you're getting on the team calls and you're going all in on this, team sip and learns and inviting to that? Are you filling out the tracker and sticking to it? Are you committed to IGTVs or maybe getting used to reels, because I know that's like the new hot thing right now. Sneak peeks, coach posts, how many are you going to do each week? Invites. Think about how many you want to commit to and write it down and try to stick to that goal. And then again, nutrition and fitness means you got to show up. And when you're showing up in your nutrition and your fitness, you will honestly crush your business. That goes hand in hand. So anytime that you feel like you're kind of in this lull, well, maybe it's because you're not liking the program you're doing, you're not as excited. And so that's when it's like, all right, you know what? Focus on you. Get back to focusing on your own journey. And I promise you it will turn it around, but make sure that you're also sharing it publicly so people see you going through like the slump and then out of the slump if you kind of are in that stage. So just create a system, whatever it might be that you want to stick to through now through the end of the year, and stay laser focused. I know that I need to reel it in myself. And so, I'm writing in my planner, I'm sticking to my morning routine. There's so many things where I'm like, okay, I can do this for the next month and a half because I know things are going to get busy. Um, And then I just want to do a quick shout out because you guys, this is just amazing. So October for Success Club All Stars. Here is our leaderboard. Hopefully you can see it okay. I tried to make it as big as possible, but as usual, Nicole, amazing. She had Success Club 46, Kim 28, Shannon 24, myself 20, and then everyone else here that is on the board and even hit 10 or higher. That is huge. So Jessica, Mary, Leslie, Tess, Tammy, Jennifer, Camille, Jennifer, Jamie, you hit Success Club 14. That's amazing. So, and even if you didn't get to where you wanted to be, if you're on this board and you even just helped one person or just someone that maybe wasn't even with a challenge pack, that is still helping someone. So I know we don't recognize that as much with because it's not Success Club points, but always appreciate or try to recognize the small wins too. Um, and then going into the top team builder. So these are everyone that added someone to their team last month, which if you guys want to grow a substantial income and you want to grow a team, this is so vital. And so it's something that we're really trying to recognize now every month. And we had so many new coaches being added to our team. When you take a look at all of our, just so many names on here, it's incredible. So, when I make a goal, and last month I wrote it down, I was like, okay, I didn't hit my goal. I wanted to add 10, I had 6, but you know what? Like, that's okay. It's okay if you fall short, shoot big. And usually that'll make you at least middle ground. And then look at what you've done in the past. If it's usually 1, be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to double that. And, or, make it even 2 times that. Just stretch yourself, have stretch goals right now. And then, okay, so as you guys know, this is what we are talking about. It's all about Instagram. And so you hear this all the time is consistency and how that plays a huge part in having success, especially on Instagram. So we recommend, and this is depending on where you are in the business. So if you were brand new, we typically say shoot for 3 to 4 posts a week. What I try to do is shoot for 4 and minimum 3. It's okay if you don't to post every single day. If you do, that's great. I actually find that I get better engagement when I'm not posting every single day. But at the same time, sometimes I want to share something and I'm inspired. And so when I have those moments, I'm like, okay, I'm going to share this. I have something I want to, share, or I'll save it for another day when I feel like I don't, I know we all have those days where like, what am I going to post about? What am I going to share? My life's boring. I'm just home or not doing anything. Well, you know what? Save those photos and use it for a post another time. And then if you're not posting every day, just as a reminder, you need to be doing Instagram stories. That is so, so important. And I say at least aim for 10 stories a day. You guys, it doesn't need to be fancy. Just commit to it. Say you're going to do 7 to 10, especially if you're starting out. And that's 3 minutes of your day. It doesn't take long. If you have to, I know a lot of us do this where you will save your videos and then you'll do it when you're like have a free moment and then you will upload a bunch all at once. And that's okay. Whatever you need to do. So your name always has something around that little circle when people look at stories. So just some examples that you can be doing. Share your breakfast. I know it sounds so silly, but people love seeing just routine. They love seeing, oh, okay, I bet you know what I have for breakfast. I bet you know what Nicole has for breakfast if you follow her, or Tess. I know what Tess has for breakfast because we've been following each other for quite some time and she has the same thing as me. But I don't know why, but people want to see what you're eating and share that. Share your devotion or your PD. And if you don't do any of that, that's okay. But share a little bit of something of your kids, or if you are working full time, well, you know what? Share about that. You don't have to share all day what you're doing, but just little clips of it. A lunch idea, a couple workout slides. You don't have to do a huge thing of workout slides. Just do at least sometimes 2, sometimes 3. You don't always need to speed it up. I sure don't. In fact, people have told me they like it when they see it in real time. So not real time, in real speed, because it makes it so looks more, I don't know, maybe they can do it. And when I speed it up, it's a little too much, but I like to mix it up. I like speeding it up. And then, of course, dinner recipe, things about your routine, or a store, things that you find at a store. I know Kim just did this on a reel and she got a lot of traction. She got a huge box. I think it was over the weekend, and she opened it up and showed all the stuff. And people love seeing unboxing of mail too. And then just as a reminder, consistency is not about perfection. It's just about showing up. Okay. So yes, are we going through a busy time of season and a busy time of year? And has it been kind of like crazy out there because of the elections? And, obviously, yes, it has. But how are you going to still show that you're showing up in spite of that? How are you showing people that you're still working on your best self and you're still committed to crossing off that next day on your calendar? Okay. So that's when people start building trust with you and you end up becoming more credible when they see it more consistent. Okay, so engagement. So this is something that I hear from a lot of us, a lot of you guys, where it's like, how can I get engagement? And this is something that we learned and stuff that we were, stuff that I've learned over time too. And I don't always do this. So just, I want you to take this as like, don't look at it like, oh my God, that's too much. That's so overwhelming. There's no way I'm going to do that. No, take it as, you know what? I will shoot to do that maybe 3 times a week because all I know, if you're a busy mom like me, there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I'm working on my post and I posted and then I don't want to look at my phone anymore because I like was just working on that post. But now what I'm trying to do is save that post for later time where I can actually engage with my followers, right? So typically, and this is just Instagram algorithm, they say after you post, you should try to engage with others 30 minutes to an hour. I rarely do it for an hour. That's like crazy. But if you can, awesome. And that means respond to comments. If anyone's commenting on it, try to do it as quickly as possible. Go back to old pics as well and engage with 4 or more words. So I guess that just shows Instagram like, oh, this person's getting a lot of engagement on this post. We're going to keep showing it. And if it doesn't get much engagement, then you know what? A lot of times Instagram's like, all right, we're not going to keep showing it to everyone in your newsfeed. I know it's lame. And then always post that photo to your stories, especially if it's a call to action. So I'm not always sharing every single thing into my stories, every single post, but a lot of times I do because it just gets more eyes to it. And then have a call to action underneath it, whatever you're asking them to do, right? And have them go comment on that post. Ask them like, I need your opinion. Don't say everything, but that way they're curious and they'll go click on it and read your post. And then hashtags. I was going over this with the viewer on my my PS team call today, but basically, I love this new app. It's called Hish Hash app, and I was playing around with it. And you might get a little overwhelmed at first when you look at it, but I love it that it will mix and grab from your main like hashtags that you like to use. So obviously with us being coaches, we're not going to just share fitness. We don't want to always be sharing beach body stuff, right? We're there's a lot more to us than that. That's just a smidgen of us. So make sure that you are finding those hashtags that are so unique to who you are. So, what I did with Hish Hash is I made a folder and you have to go look at it, but go ahead and download it and it'll mix it up. But it might, like, just to give you an example, I have postpartum and then I have 25 hashtags underneath that. I have fashion because I share a lot of like Amazon fashion and things that I like to wear. And then I have mom life, and then I have boy mom life or boy mom. And then so what I can do is if I want them to like mix in my fitness journey and postpartum journey, I'll click on fitness and postpartum and it'll honestly shuffle it around for you and give you 28 or 30 hashtags for you to go ahead and copy, and then you can paste it either into your post, or I like to do it in the comment section. I don't know what's right or wrong, honestly. You'll hear a mix of everything, or I'll just put it and copy it into my notes and then I'll paste it into my comment on my post, whatever I did. And then I also have heard when you do a carousel photo, meaning like people have to look at 1 or 2 or 3 photos, that's keeping someone on your Instagram post longer than just looking at a photo and going through it, right? They have to swipe through and look at a few different photos. So maybe it's a picture of you and then a video of your workout. Awesome. Or maybe you're just a couple different angles of yourself and you want to share that, then have them swipe through. I didn't realize because sometimes I'm like, well, I only like sharing one pic. I thought that was good. And that's more on Facebook, I think. But then on Instagram, hey, mix it up. Sometimes have the carousel, sometimes just have one. Either way, just, you got to be switching it up. And then make sure that you have a business account or a creator account. I don't really know what creator account is necessarily, but I guess that's one other way so you can look at insights. And that way you can figure out, okay, what is my audience like? What are they engaging with the most? And I have a business account, and that's one thing that I love and that I've been utilizing more is figuring out what is my audience like. So you can look at your insights and be like, oh my gosh, I got a lot of engagement on this. Interesting. Okay, then I need to pretty much replicate something similar and give my audience that more. And then I guess you can also look at the days and times that do best as well. Because I can tell you right now, like if I posted a call to action on a Friday, I probably wouldn't get a lot of traction. I tend to do my call to actions from Sunday night to Wednesday or Thursday, but that's typically when I feel like I'm getting the most engagement. And maybe that's when people are like, I had too many treats over the weekend, or they're more engaged on Instagram. And then as the week goes on, they kind of want it to be more like fluffy stuff, you know, like not like they're kind of checked out already for the week. Okay, so another tip is, and this is something that you'll just learn as you go. Like I kind of know my peak times. It doesn't mean that I always post at those peak times. Evenings tend to be the best. And I probably should have saved my post for the evening tonight or the one I did today. But like I said, I don't always do that because I'm trying to also engage with my following as soon as I post something. But the tip is that you should post before your peak time. So if you feel like your peak time is maybe like 8 or 9 in the morning, or maybe it's noon, then you're going to want to post about an hour before that. Because that way you can max out that peak time. And another thing too that I wanted to just make sure and reiterate, because I see this happen a lot, where you post something really late and it might be 9:30 or 10 o'clock because you finally are sitting down and you are like, okay, the kids are gone to bed. I finally have a moment to work on something or work on a post, and then you want to get it done and out. But I really don't recommend doing that late of a post. Save it for the next day. I try not to post anything later than 8 or 8:30. And don't worry if you're like, but I haven't posted in 2 days, just do it the next day. Um, and then all the Instagram stuff that you will see that you can use in your stories, make sure that you do that. So, you know, get familiar with the multiple choice one, the question bar box, the polls. I try to mix it up all the time because you never know, you know, what people are going to want to interact with you most with. And make sure that you tag everyone and everything anytime that you post a photo. Meaning if you are eating at a restaurant, tag that restaurant. If you are wearing something that's a specific brand, tag that in there, because you never know if someone's like, oh, I want to know what she's wearing, or you know, if you have that info, or if someone's in that location, they'll actually search it and they'll see that, oh, your photo will auto populate in the search bar of Instagram. And the reason why we say this, you guys, is because the more shares and saves, that just means more reach, more people see your stuff. So, you know, the more people that click on your, what is it? It's like the save button, you know, they're saving it for later. Instagram sees that. It's not just that's why if you do recipes, you know, say that, say, hey, share, I swipe to see the recipe. Maybe it's a food pic, or maybe it's not necessarily a food pic, but you want to let people know that you attach the recipe, have it on the next slide. And then that way people might save and bookmark. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Bookmark that photo, that post for a later time. Okay. So aesthetics. This is something where, okay, it's all relative. And the reason why I say this is because what do you care about? Like what accounts can you think of right now that you are drawn to? Because I remember when I first started, I didn't like, my photos were not good, but you know what? It didn't matter. I still showed up and I was consistent. And so don't like focus too much on the aesthetics, because that's not like the whole, like, I don't know. That's not the whole purpose of this. It's more of just, hey, if you want it to be brighter and cleaner, eye popping, and it's really what you prefer. So I know when I thought I did a training like this, or I listened to a team call that was similar, and I was like, well, what are you drawn to? And I remember thinking of a few accounts, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, I just love it how it seems cohesive. I love it that it's bright. I love it that it has this like bright look to it. So I found a preset that would brighten my photos in that way, not just using Instagram filters. And then pay attention to what your audience wants to see. which type of posts get the highest engagement, and do more of that. So, I know, for example, if you want to look at Nicole, she has a lot of running photos, and she switched probably about a year and a half ago to doing a less mom life stuff to more running, because she was like, wow, I'm getting a lot of people who are runners on my page, and I need to make sure that I am continuously putting a running photo up. So if you go to her newsfeed, you're going to see probably a running photo every other one, every three, something like that. But it's because that's what she knows her audience wants. And I'm the opposite, where people, if I do a running photo, I'm not going to get as much traction of that. Even though I do run and I let people know I run, I don't have that market. I'm not really talking to runners. But if I put in something that's more talking about fitness motivation or mom life, that tends to be my audience. So pay attention to what does well, and you just start just writing it down, taking notes and figuring out, okay, this last week, these are the ones that did well, and write it down. Which was it? But that's why you have to stay consistent with posting at least 3-ish times a week. Okay. Um, and then just some examples, empowerment posts, transformations, motherhood, family life, postpartum, vulnerability, even quotes. Like, we used to get away from quotes, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But showcase your niche and theme, whatever that is. Let people see the unique things about you, because that is how people are honestly going to connect and feel like that you're real and that you're raw. And that's how your audience grows faster. I will be honest, like, I need to share more vulnerability. It's a weakness of mine, and I know that. It's from my upbringing. Like, I was always taught, like, things are fine, everything's great, and sometimes I don't even know when I'm upset or when I'm sad, but I have to, like, be okay with being like, you know what, I'm going to share that today was a hard day, or I'm going to share that right now this is a really crazy season for my job, and I'm going to let people know that. Right? So figure out what it is, what season you're going through, because we're all going to be all over the place. We're not all the same person. So figure out what is unique about you and how you can get a little bit deeper and real. And then, who are you? Are you a past teacher, or are you a teacher? I know, for example, Shannon is a nurse practitioner, and she's no longer doing that. Are you an IVF warrior? That is Shannon. That's Shayla. Think about the things, the unique qualities that will make you different, like being a twin mom, having more than one kid, having multiple kids, or, for me, it was always boy mom. And I got a lot of boy moms on my team. Like, a lot of you guys were boy moms. And it's funny because it's like, that probably made you, oh, wow, she's a boy mom like me, and it just, anything that people have in common, they tend to stick to that person, right? It makes you feel like they have a commonality with you. And a lot of you guys already do this, but just as a reminder, you don't need a lot to make those, like, pictures pop. So for me, I use Lightroom. I know Nicole uses Snapseed. That's one that I have used in the past. A lot of people use Snapseed. It's free. Lightroom just brightens it up. I love Lightroom. You don't have to have a preset in order to use it either. Okay. And then I always say, think about where you're taking that photo. You don't want to be backlit. You want the light being on you. So you want to be facing the window, prop the photo up, perhaps, or, do a selfie, whatever it is, change it up, see what your audience likes. And yeah, the yellow light was, I don't have the best lighting in some of my, like, in my garage. It's not the best lighting because it's yellow. It's like dark. So, and anytime that I'm in post a photo from my workout, I usually move outside or into my family room area where there's more windows. Okay. So going into just content and how to think of stuff. This is stuff that we were all, like, basically we're taught at leadership, and it can seem like a lot, and it's something that we can all get better at. But this is something just to start taking note of and figure out what does well on your page. So this can be your homework. This is my homework as well, because sometimes I think that we're just flying by the seat of our pants and we're like, well, I think this is what my audience likes. But figure out, like, what is your tone? What is it that your people and your vibe, your tribe, let's say, like? Is it faith-based? Are people that are following you, is it faith-based, or is it mom life? Is it, being like funny and putting in jokes in there? Is it doing funny like TikTok videos or reels? Figure out and play around with it. And then once you figure that what people want, you can actually serve them better. And then this is something that we learned, and what I thought was interesting is there's 3 types of posts that you could do to continue being like, if you're like, I don't know what to share each week. Like it could be analysis paralysis. Who is experienced like, but I don't know what to post. And we all have that, you guys. It's not, don't think that since some of us are posting consistently that we always have content. It's just, we have gotten used to it and we've stayed consistent, and we just kept failing forward, and we made sure, like I always look at my newsfeed and I'm like, okay, I haven't posted in 3 days. It's time for me to get that post up, right? So you should know, you should have an idea of when you last posted and when that next post will be. Look at your week as well. And what do you have coming up? Do you like to share about date night? Do you know that you're going to get dressed up and you're going to want to take a cute photo of you outside of workout clothes and a little bit of, that side of you? Or are you finding that you haven't taken a fitness photo in a while and you want to make sure that you're sharing value? So here are the 3 different posts that you can mix in into your news feed. But above else, just know, like, I always am thinking, how can I serve my people? How can I serve the people that I know are, what are they struggling with? What makes them happy and feel good? What are those posts too? So that's why we're going to go over vulnerable, viral, and then valuable. Okay. So this is something that viral doesn't have to be necessarily a quote, but it usually viral means that it is shared from someone else. And the reason why it's viral, like you'll randomly see someone's post on something and you're like, oh my God, that's hilarious. That is so funny. I need to share that, or I'm going to share that to my friend. Like you send it to your friend or your husband. That is called a viral post, something that, other people are getting a reaction out of. And this is something that honestly, I haven't really done. I've never really thought to do these type of posts. And I know Shannon had one from Halloween, and it was like, Shannon was like, what the heck? I have over 2,000 people that like this post. What do I do? How do I know how to keep serving those people? Do I reach out to all those people? But it was like, it got so much traction, and probably people sharing it to different people because it was funny. It was her family Halloween costume. People love that. But yeah, is that one something that I can share onto my newsfeed? No, but that is one that just naturally, organically went viral. So a way to look at viral, you guys, is think of like the different pages that you like to go to, and you're like, this is something that I want to share with my newsfeed. Like they know me as this, and I think this is hilarious. And then you make sure that you put the source of wherever it came from. But here are a few examples: Scary Mommy, Dave Ramsey, Boss Babe, and maybe you can think of other accounts too. These are just 3 that came off the top of my head. And then just insert any other account that inspires you, but share the things that people engage with. And these are great filler posts. So what I mean by filler posts is like, if you've had a crazy day, maybe like your kids got sick and you're like, oh, I was planning on having this day where I was going to take these photos, or, whatever it might've been, you just didn't have time. Well, save some of those viral, like you can bookmark, if you liked a certain quote from somewhere, save it into albums on your Instagram. And then that way, on those rainy days or those days where you're like, I don't know, I can't think of content, but I know I need to stay consistent. That's when you want to consider doing something that's kind of funny, lighthearted, and that viral type of post. Vulnerable. So like I said, this is something, and I trust me, I know I need to get better at this. But we all can get better at being vulnerable. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to share the things that we're not as comfortable with, and we're letting people in, a little bit more into our life and what we're struggling with, right? So, but it's how you're going to connect with your audience, and you're going to, have a little bit of a deeper connection with them, and that helps them stick around too. So this is where you guys, you're going to tell your personal stories. So, when you think of something right now that you're struggling with, whatever it might be, maybe you need to figure out what that is. Maybe you're not really struggling with anything, and that's fine. But I wanted to share the example of mine because obviously the stage that I'm in is having a baby. And when I started incorporating formula, it was kind of like I felt the urge to share it with others because I feel like, you know, there's this mom guilt around it. And I know there's other moms that probably feel that way. So when I did that post, I'm not saying I knew it was going to do well, but I was being a little bit vulnerable because I was letting my audience know. Like I could have easily been like, "Oh no, I'm not going to be giving her formula." Like I didn't need to say anything at all that I was breastfeeding or not, but it was something that I knew that I wanted to share and go a little bit deeper. So and then you can use the idea of hook, intro, content, and then call to action. And that's the way that you can kind of do it. So we're going to go over on the next slide, but oh, where is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, it'll be on the next slide after this one. Okay, Shannon, you want to start?
Yeah. That was amazing. Thank you, Kelly. And the one thing I'll say on the vulnerable is that is really where I have seen so much more engagement for myself too. One that I specifically remember, I was literally laying on the floor sobbing, like none of my kids were napping. And I snapped this picture to send to my husband, like not even, it wasn't in my mind to be like, oh, I'm going to share this on IG later. And I waited a couple weeks because again, it is scary and hard to be vulnerable. But then I shared it and just said how I was struggling so much, how I had finally decided I was going to like start therapy. And I could not believe the number of people that like messaged me privately, commented on it, said, thank you so much for sharing that. I think especially right now, because so many people are struggling and it's so easy to see people's perfect little lives on Instagram and think that everybody else is doing well when in reality, they're not. And those are like the best relationships that I've built. And I think that you'll find when you get that connection with people, inviting them, it feels so easy because it comes so organically because that relationship has been built and it's someone that you want to be a part of your life and a part of your team and a part of your challenge group. So those are huge and key. It's just finding out like what you haven't shared, what you feel comfortable sharing with, and what the type of people that you want to relate to also. So the third part is valuable. So what is something, again, that's going to help you create tighter bonds with your followers? And this is the stuff for people who are already here on your page. So why do people come to your page? What do they want more from when they come to your page? So first think about what problems are you going to help them solve? What are their problems? What are they struggling with currently? That could be nutrition, that could be fitness, that could be having twins, that could be anything. But finding out like your people, your followers, what are their problems and what solution do you have to offer them? What do they come to be taught? And what can you inspire them with? So think about their problem, turn it into a title, and create a post. So this could be something like 5 simple steps to have a positive outlook every day, 3 secrets to waking up without a headache. My top 3 tips of how to sneak a workout in during nap time, whatever it might be. But again, you want to hook them in. So that's the very first line of your post has to be something where people are going to actually click it in the feed, open it up and read it. Then you have an intro, then you have the content, and then you have a call to action. So the hook, you start with something to draw them in. Could be a quote, could be a phrase, a middle part of your story. You don't want to say happy Friday, happy Monday. Think about things where you just scroll right past where like, even if it's a great photo, if the caption, you can see like the first part of it and it doesn't interest you, you won't click it and you won't go to it. So you want to think about what is going to cause them to stop their scroll and actually go spend time on your page. The intro then is their transition into the actual content and the help that you're going to provide. The content can be simple bullets to provide those values and tips. So my top 3 tips, 1, 2, 3, bullet points. And then at the end, a call to action. So double tap if you agree, comment below, like if you have a similar experience or what has worked well for you, drop an emoji, tag a friend, save this post to come back to later. Maybe that's a recipe. So many people struggle with healthy recipes. So maybe you're providing value and sharing a couple of tips of meal prepping, and then you're providing an actual recipe. Save this recipe to come back to later. Share this with a friend. Comment below if blah, 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 blah. You always want to have a call to action most of the time, but it doesn't always have to be. Sometimes you can just provide value without necessarily always asking a question. I found myself doing that a lot, where I would always be asking a question. And my Halloween post, for example, I literally was just like, happy Halloween. And then it went insane. And so it's all about testing out what works, seeing what your audience most resonates with, and then continuing to do more of that. And I always try to remember to, and thinking about like, okay, have I provided something viral that's maybe funny, maybe with something else? Have I been vulnerable at least once this week? Have I provided any value? Or am I just, sharing how awesome like coaching is? It's so important to share. I do a coaching post at least once a week. It's not always a hard call to action, but it's, what has this done for my life? I have at least one fitness post, but remembering and looking back, have I done anything that's actually provided value? Maybe it's inspiring, and yes, that can be valuable, but what have I taught somebody? What have I given them that's going to help them have a better week or make a healthier meal, and actual valuable things that they can say, thank you so much for X, Y, or Z. And you can just see, these are some examples. Nicole says 3 girls, huh? And then she goes into her intro. Mine, I spent an entire day full of anxiety every single Sunday. And so often, it's just that first line you can see. So it really has to hook you in. And same on Facebook, actually. Basically, like your first sentence and a half is the only part that shows. So just remembering and thinking about, would this draw me in? And the people that are attracted to you are probably going to be attracted to the same types of posts. So just always keeping that in mind. All right, so let's talk Reels. These are new. And if you guys go to your Explore feed, I can almost guarantee you that Reels are going to be the very first thing in the main picture, because these are what are trending. So you absolutely need to be doing them, trying them. You're missing a huge opportunity if you're not. And trust me, I am not the type of person that's going to be like dancing or doing anything crazy. And so I'm having to try to be creative and watching other people's, thinking about trending songs or tutorials. And that's how I learned. Was I literally just went to Instagram, and I love, like, Shalene and Brock Johnson have talked about them a lot. Shalene has some on there even that you could do. These are lighthearted, funny, just speaking with a message through the progression. Do what you find entertaining and valuable. So I remember I also was listening to Melanie Mitchell, and she's like, again, not going to be the one that's like singing and dancing, because that's not her thing. So if it's not your thing, don't do it, but figure out like what resonates with you. Because again, that's the type of audience that you likely have, and do similar ones, and you can share those to your stories. One thing that I learned, and I think it was just an Instagram one, but when you post it, it'll go to your Reels. You can then go from there. You can share it to your stories. And you have the option to add it to your grid or not add it to your grid when you post your Reel. But what you can do is you can add it to your grid, which then gets your followers to actually see it in their feed, but you can then remove it from your grid. And so they'll still, based on what they said in the training, is that it'll still keep showing up in the feed to your followers, but it won't be on your profile grid. So for example, if it was a Reel that like didn't do very well, or the picture just, the lighting was off and doesn't look good in my feed, then I just remove it from my grid. So that was one tip that I learned that I thought you guys might also find helpful. Okay. And then you can use the voice button to talk your captions out. It'll save you a lot of time instead of writing it out. I do this a lot as a busy mama of 5. You can copy and paste images from your camera roll to your story, and then plan ahead. I do this all the time, because if I didn't, I honestly would not be able to post, because life is so crazy. So I plan a lot out. I personally use Planoly, but there's other ones like Plan or Google Sheet. And just figure out throughout your week what's going to be valuable, what's going to be vulnerable, and what's going to be viral. And then just reminders of PD. This is so important, and this is such a game changer. But books and audibles right now, as we are gearing up towards the end of the year, everything that you're doing now is going to set you up for 2021. So I am so excited for our entire team to finish this year strong, but also start out 2021 with an absolute bang. So everything you're doing now is planting seeds for other people, building those connections for people that are going to join you now. Maybe that's for 9-Week Control Freak or at the start of the year. Some of the books are Go for No, The 10X Rule, Get Over Your Damn Self, 12-Week Year. Podcast, Women Inspiring Women. That's Melanie Mitchell's. I listen to almost every single episode. Your Virtual Upline. I also listen to that one. Chic Influencer is great. The Mindset Mentor, Trent Shelton, Empower Her. And then recently I've been listening to Shalene and Brock Johnson. And they have some great tips on Instagram. They do a ton of research. So everything is almost like real time with them. And they actually like do the work of seeing if it is actually working on Instagram. And so it's really research based, and they just have awesome tips all the time. So those are some of the ones that I would highly recommend right now. And then don't forget that all challenge packs this month for No Excuse November are $20 off if they're at least $150 or more of challenge packs and completion packs. And so use that to your advantage to help people get in and into the groups now. And then the people that are purchasing now are going to get a discount on 9-Week Control Freak. So we are going to open it up for questions. Can't thank you guys for being on. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. And Kelly, thank you so much for putting the slides together and for the beginning part of this, because I always learn so much too, even when I've heard the first session of it.
Yeah, I'm just looking over at the comments. Would you having trouble uploading, Brittany?
None of my stories seem to be publishing. I've tried it maybe about 6 times and it says they failed. So I don't know, maybe there's something going on right now.
Yeah, I had the same issue about 3 hours ago. And I still have one that's saying it failed. So it must be something. Yeah, it's still saying upload failed, try again. So something must be down with Instagram.
Also, one thing to keep in mind, I don't know if you guys heard this, but I follow the Chic Influencer, and with all the political stuff, a lot of the hashtags are like irrelevant because they were trying to prevent false information from being spread. So just know if it's weird and it doesn't seem like you're getting the same kind of reach and engagement, that could be part of it. But at the same time, it's also important to be like, okay, evaluate, like, why didn't this post do as well, rather than thinking that it's part of the algorithm out to get you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments. I love it. I love how Sheila's like, I started eating your breakfast because I see it so much. It's so true. You start seeing, like, anytime now that I'm talking to someone and, they're just like, yeah, I'm interested. Or what is that stuff that you're drinking too in the morning that like wakes you up? And I can't tell you how often I get that, because I am sharing like, this is my go-go juice, or this is my mommy crack, whatever you call it. And sometimes I don't say anything. I'm just like talking and mixing it and, having it. And I don't do it every single day. I try to mix it up. I was listening to Melanie Mitro's podcast, and like I said, you guys will always get something from different people all the time. And that's how you continue, showing up and try new things. It's always failing forward. But one thing that she said was, think about what you're doing in your stories. Is it almost monotonous? Is it too like routine-ish where people are like, oh, I'm not really excited to go to her page right now? Or are you like every now and then mixing in something different, or, showing like helpful tips and value, but then also sharing other things too? Maybe there's so many times where I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like sharing the clothes that I bought or that I just got on Amazon, but I know like that's something that people like. So I'll take the time to do that. Maybe not that day, but at some point I will. And then,
One thing that I heard on the Shalene Johnson and Brock Johnson that I thought was a really good tip, actually. So obviously, anybody that comments on anything of yours, you're going to want to comment back. But what their tip was is that you don't like it right away. You just comment back to them. And then the next day you go back to that post and then you like it. So then it's popping up in their feed of like, oh, Kelly liked this thing. And it's another engagement with them. It doesn't necessarily, the likes they said didn't necessarily affect like the algorithm, but it just helps your followers re-engage again and then maybe go back to your page then the next day and then perhaps continue that cycle. So that was something that I hadn't really heard or thought about because I always am automatically like, comment at the same time. So it's just a good way to reconnect with people, from one day to the next, rather just kind of a one and done.
and Camille, I see that you deleted your message on Facebook that said Happy Monday. So Facebook is different though. So this is more on Instagram, and I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing to do on Facebook. I think when you are there, I just see it's so easy to say like Happy Monday, or I don't know, like it's fine to have those posts every now and then. It's totally fine. Don't think like, oh gosh, I didn't have any content today. Cause I was just talking to Nicole about this. I'm like, I'm someone that I'm not quite as wordy as some people. And I used to try to be wordier because I saw Shannon doing that. And Shannon will admit, like, she loves writing, and to her, it just comes easy to her. But to me, it actually, I don't enjoy it as much. Sometimes I do, but I'm kind of a different style where, like, just so you guys know, I don't want you to think like, oh, I need to think of like a viral and a vulnerable and a value post. And then if you can't, then you're not going to post anything, right? Like those are just three things that you can try to start thinking, like, what can I add today? And start thinking about those things. But in my opinion, there's always the time too when you can be super light. Like it's Donut Friday with my kids. What are you guys up to this Friday? Or, like people love seeing photos of you and your kids, or, like I get a lot of traction when it's just Viv and it's just me and her, or my three boys, so it's just it's not everything has to be so thought out and thought, like, oh, okay, I've spent a lot of time on this. I think people are liking seeing the quick posts sometimes too, because they don't want to like stay on your page for too long. So I think it's a good thing to try, just trial and error. Bottom line, like if you feel like you're not getting a lot of traction on your post, and you know what, then that's when I would say, hey, let's try making it so it's not so long. Or maybe it looks like you've been doing too many call to actions. I know I said that to some of my coaches where, well, you've been doing too many call to actions because you're not putting enough like personal in the mix in between. Because if you're only posting once a week, well, and you're trying to get your challenge group filled in, or you're trying to do that, promote the sip and learn, well, then you find yourself always doing a call to action, and your audience is going to get exhausted from that, and they're not going to want to keep engaging. Yeah, I like what Nicole said. One call to action every 3 to 4 posts. For sure. I think, that's what's so great about stories now is people tend to take a lot of call to action there. Or I like to do a lot of call to actions in my stories. But then at the same time,
in my stories, probably like 4 or 5 times a week, but I will only invite in a post once a week, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it can be a variety of like, almost like the soft call to action where you're like, let me know if you want, or like, if you're struggling with this, don't hesitate to reach out, versus a like, I'm having a challenge group if you want to join me on X date. So I always kind of call those like the soft and the hard, but I would totally agree with that. Go ahead. No.
So you're asking, okay, so Deborah, can you define call to action? So I actually did a call to action post today. Mine was very direct. I put these in every now and then, but I said, I'm looking for 10 women. And then I go into what I'm looking for. And then I say, it's going to be a nutrition boot camp and fitness boot camp, your choice. Who's ready to join me? I'm just giving so I'm not reading the whole thing to you, but a call to action is when you're asking someone, like, I want you to join me. Who's interested in joining my group? And it's like a hard call to action post. So, typically I'm a week away from my challenge group, and didn't really invite, be honest, like a lot of call to action posts last week. So I made sure I did it today early in the week. And then I'm going to be inviting a lot of people tomorrow. I always like to invite, if I don't have the time to do it that day, you guys, make sure you do a call to action before our power hour. We have our power hour tomorrow at noon. And I just think it's so great to be like, oh, you know what? On that power hour, I have a lot of people that I can invite, or I can hopefully try to get a lot of people, because I'm going to post earlier in the morning a call to action. And even doesn't mean you only invite people that I only had a few people that commented on my posts. It's more of the people who liked it and then who watched my stories from the day prior. Those are our people that I'll honestly invite.
One thing I was going to reiterate what Kelly was saying is it's so easy to have a call like this and be like, I'm doing everything wrong, because I do that myself sometimes. But just use it as a tool of thinking about like what works and actually looking like, do you look at your post and you see like how many people liked it, how many people it reached, looking at your insights on Instagram, figuring out what's doing really well. Because I didn't for the longest time. I kind of just was like, oh, that was good, that all likes, but not really actually thinking like, oh, I provided value. Oh, it was, I was educating them on, something about being a twin mom. And then just knowing that sometimes I know, like my coaching op posts, if it's like just me, I know I'm not going to get a lot of likes, and not yet. And that doesn't mean that you stop doing them, because all it takes is one person, the one person, to see that and to resonate with them. And it doesn't matter if you get like 700 likes, if nobody resonates with it and you don't get anybody from it, then it doesn't matter. So just keep in mind that there will be some where you're like, I know that this might not have the most likes, but all I need to do is reach that one person. And you have to be sharing that you're coaching. You have to be sharing that you're hosting these groups, or people won't know it. And that was a thing that I struggled with for the longest time, is with coaching ops, I didn't share it. And so people didn't know, and they'd be like, oh, guess what? Thank you so much. You're so inspiring. I joined so-and-so. Like, oh, are you kidding me? But that was my own fault. So just don't be afraid to share it. Don't be worried. Don't be so focused on like the likes or whatever. Just think about what works, what's serving your audience, and who you're connecting with, and just keep doing that on repeat.
Oh, I need to update my phone, Tammy. I have a software update. Maybe that's the problem.
I think it is, because my husband said something about it earlier and I was like, what? I didn't get notified, and I do too. So I'm thinking that might be it.
Okay, I'll do that tonight. Thanks. Yeah, so bottom line is, you guys just stay consistent, and hopefully you took some notes, because this was stuff that we learned from leadership, and like a part of me was a little overwhelmed hearing like, oh my gosh, I got to think of viral posts. I got to think of value posts, like, but actually it's supposed to help you. That way you can create, for your week or the month, depending on what you're inviting to. When you break up the month into what we have going on, it actually becomes kind of easy of like what you should be inviting for and your call to actions, and then throw in lighthearted posts, vulnerability posts, the viral ones, the free value added ones. So I always say, like, figure out something that you feel like you're pretty good at, and that's what people might want to see, and give your tips, even if you think like these are lame tips. No, you never know who needs to hear it.
I was going to say, for that, when you said that you're doing the bullet points with the tips, I often will do bullet points with tips, but then I also do bullet points with just like relatable things. So like, I'll be like, this is like twin mom life. And then I'll write like 5 different things, like facts about being a twin mom. So it's just like connecting with someone, or it could be like girl mom life, or it could be, about running. And it's not like I'm actually, because I know sometimes we're like, who wants to listen to my advice on who am I to give advice on this topic, right? Which you are more than welcome to give advice, especially I sometimes do research for my posts about running. I often do, to make sure that I'm not a run coach, so I'm not going to give people running advice unless I know for sure that it's real, right? But I can do a list of like, I did one where it was like what I've learned from being a trail runner, and it was just like some funny things like about pooping in the woods, and like a few other like random facts about how like your pace doesn't matter and things like that that's like relatable to people that are also new to trail running or trail runners. It's like, you don't have to come up with like this mind-blowing, these mind-blowing value added posts in order to be valuable and relatable.
Yeah, I do that too with Pinterest. If I'm like, I can only think of 3 things right now for my morning routine tips, and I'll just go to Pinterest. And it's like, oh, that's something that I do, but I just didn't think that was a big deal. Okay, drink, 6 ounces of water, or, just, you guys, utilize Pinterest, and you can just type in like morning routine tips or morning tips, or, that's just one example. But again, we're not supposed to be the pros, or we're not nutritionists, we're not fitness instructors. We're just someone who's trying to relate to the other person that's just you. I always say I'm trying to talk to the other Kellys out there, and that makes it so much easier when I like block out everything else. Like if I block out like all the people who I think might be seeing that post and it like starts to scare me, I'm like, no, I'm just going to talk to the other Kelly out there, because I'm sure there's one other Kelly that might need my message today, who might need to hear this. And I don't care if it doesn't get a ton of traction. It's not all about likes, you guys, even though we love it. We love it when we're like, oh, that posted well. Okay. But you know what? As you're starting out too, and you're continuing to grow, you want to show credibility. Credibility means consistency. Consistency, you're building trust. When people trust you, they start being like, oh, I'm going to reach out to her. I'm going to click on her poll. I think I want to join whatever she's doing, right? So that's kind of the stages, how I always look at it too. All right, well, we can wrap it up, you guys. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for being on. Make sure that we get a photo. There's actually two screens, so I'm not gonna be able to get everyone. Yeah, my phone is messed up. It's like none of my filters are showing. What? I'm sure Tammy can do our video.
Yeah, I can do one.
Tammy, that update worked on my Instagram. I didn't even think to check that, but thank you, because
I know. I'm so
post-
glad I looked. Yeah.
yeah, it's 3 today. I was like, come on.
That's cool.